Hi everyone, welcome to the 5th episode of the tutorials on Nextflow for Bioinformatics. In today's video, I am going to show you how to write a Nextflow script to perform quality control with FastQC. Now, the script for this tutorial is available, so if you want it, check the description box, you'll find a link to the script. For those who also like a one-on-one session with me to learn how to use Nextflow to write your pipelines, you can always reach out to me. My contact is in the description box. Now, let's proceed. So for this tutorial, you need to make sure you have Nextflow installed and you should also have FastQC installed. I have tutorials that show how to install each of these two. So check the description box, you'll find the links to those videos. Now let's get started. So we are now going to open our terminal and then start the exercise. Okay, we are on the terminal now. So what I'm going to do next is to create a working directory and then I will seed into it. So I'll say make the Nextflow and then I'll cd into it. All right. Now I'm going to download the example data, so you should also do same. So let's go to the ENA database. That is the European Nucleotide Archive. I'll leave the link to this page also in the description box. So when you are here, come to this side where we have the enter accession ID or accession box here, this one here. So paste this accession number here. The accession number here is also in the description, so just use that, copy and then paste here, and then come to view and then click it. So when you click it, you'll be sent to the page which has the data. All right, I'll also leave the link to this page in the description, so you don't even need to search, you can just come to this page directly. So we are going to use two FastQC files here. All right, I've been using this data a lot in my tutorials. So this is a mycobacterium ostrans isolate. So I'll download the paired end data. All right, so I'll use this one here, these two. So what I'll do is to get the download links. I'll do them one by one, by the way. So I'll first get this one. I'll right click and I'll copy the link. I repeat, to get a download link, I'll right click and I'll copy. You can also download with your browser, that's fine. But I'll do everything on the terminal. So that's why I'm getting the download links. So let's go to the terminal and then download the read one. I'll use wget and then I'll paste the link there. So let's execute this command. Okay, so this will download the example data for us. It's a small file, so it will not take much time. All right, so the first file has been downloaded. We can do an ls to check it. It's here. All right, so that's it. Now let's do for the read two. So I'll right click, I'll copy the link, I'll move to the terminal, I'll issue wget, I'll paste it there and then get the file also. Okay, so that is done. Let's do an ls. We are going to find both files there. Let's clear the screen and do an ls again. Now let's do this. Let's place these files in another directory. All right, so I will say make the FastQC and then I'll move the files there. It's just a way to organize them. So I'll say mv star.fastqc.gz. I'll specify the directory like this. So it's done. So if I do an ls, I have my FastQC directory. I'll ls into it. I'll find my files there. All right. So ladies and gentlemen, we now have our example data, so we can start. We are now going to write the Nextflow scripts to perform the quality control. All right. So let's clear the screen and continue. I'll do an ls again and then proceed. Okay, so now we are ready to write our Nextflow scripts. But before we do that, let's take a note of our current working directory. So I'll say pwd to get it. And then I'm also going to get the path for the directory that's the FastQC files, which is this one here. All right. So to get a path, it's this current working directory / FastQC. That will give us the paths. We can also say real path and get it here. That will also give us. So I need this information. I need this one, and I also need this one. I'll use them in the script. Now let's open our Nextflow script and then write the command. So we are starting from scratch, so that means that you have to open a new or an empty file. That's what it is. So I'll say nano and then I'll specify the name. You can use any text editor of your choice, but I prefer to use nano. That's why I mostly use it. So nano, then I'll specify a name for the file. So I say pipeline.nf. Again, you can use any name of your choice. Now let's open the script. All right, we have done that. Now before we start writing the commands, let me take you to the Nextflow tutorial page. There's something I have to bring to your attention. Now with the version of Nextflow I'm using, the default DSL version is uses 2. So I don't need to use this command. So that's why you don't see me using this command in my script. But if by any chance you want to change the version, then you have to specify it using this approach. So I thought I'll bring this to your attention. Now let's move back to the terminal. So the first thing I'm going to do is to set my parameters. That's what I'm going to do here. So with the parameters, I'm going to set 2. One is a parameter that will make available the FastQC files. And then the other is a directory that will be used to save the output files. I'll start with the one which will give us the FastQC files. So I'll say params.fastq equals, I bring my quotes and I'll say /home/corbina/nextflow/fastq/star.gz. All right, so now let's be specific. Sometimes you can have several files with the extension .gz. All right, so let's be specific. So let's take a look at our FastQC files again. Let's do an ls to see what we are. So we have .fastq.gz. So I'm going to use the .fastq as well so that I become more specific. So I'll change this one to star.fastq.gz. And then I'll bring my double quote. So this represents all files that end with .fastq.gz in the FastQ directory. So basically we are getting our FastQ file. So with this command, if you issue it on the terminal, let's do it. I think it would be good to do that beforehand. If I say ls and I do this, I'll get my FastQ files. All right, so these are the files that we made available to us in the scripts. So that's the meaning of what we've done so far. All right, so let's proceed. Now I'll move on to create a process. So the process is a task. So in this situation, we are going to perform quality control. So I'll say process, and then I'll say QC. You can use any name of your choice. You can also say quality control, it's fine. But I'll use QC for now. I'll bring my curly brackets, I'll start, and then I'll end with it. So in between will be my commands. Now I'll start with my inputs. So inputs, I bring my colon. The next line, I'll say path. It's this path. And then I'll say FastQ. This would be a placeholder. I repeat, the FastQ name here is going to be a placeholder for the incoming FastQ files. Let's move to the next line. I'll say output. I bring a colon. The next line, I'll say path. Double quote, star, double quotes. This means that all files that will be generated. Now let's move to the next line. The next line will be scripts. That will be my commands or command. I bring my colon, and then the next line, I bring 3 double quotes, another 3 double quotes. And then in between is where I'll place my command, the FastQC command. So the FastQC command is going to be like this. FastQC $FastQ. So it's that simple. Yeah, okay, so this is how the command is going to be. Now let's proceed. So we have defined our process, but we need to call it. So to call it, we have to also use this workflow. So I'll say workflow. I bring my curly brackets and I close it. And in between, I'll give my final instructions. So with Nextflow, if you want to supply a process with an input, you need to use a channel. So I'll create a channel. The channel will have access to the files, and then the channel will pass those files to our process, which in this case is QC. All right, so let's do that now. So I'll do this. I'll say FastQ underscore ch equals, and then I'll say channel dot from path, PATH, the P is uppercase, and then I bring my brackets, and then I'll say params dot FastQ, like this. So this is it. All right. Now we have access to the FastQ first. Then we have to link that to the process. So in the next line, we will say QC into brackets FastQ underscore ch, like this. And then we can proceed to do this. We can add another line to view the outputs. So you can say qc.out.view. And then we bring our brackets. So this becomes our final command. Let's make sure that we have the curly brackets also there. All right, so this is how the command is going to be. So it's that simple, right? So we can now proceed. So let's exit and save changes. Now let's do an ls. We are going to find our file there. So we are now going to run Nextflow. So I'll say Nextflow run pipeline.nf. So let's execute this command. All right, so Nextflow is running now. So let's wait for everything to get done for us. Okay, so Nextflow has completed its work. So we have the outputs here. We have them here. So note where the files have been saved. So we have in our current directory, we have work, we have this, etc. So now if I do an ls, I'm going to find a directory called work. So in it, I'll find other directories, and then we have to search and get the output files. All right, let's clear the screen. Now, if you use FastQC, normally on your command line, you should see the outputs in the FastQ directory. Let's do an ls. All right, here. You should see them here. But with what we've done with Nextflow, there's no default behavior. It will create a working directory called work. Let me just say output directory, and then it will save the outputs there. All right, so if you want to change this behavior, which I think you should, because getting this long parts, all that stuff can be complicated, you can specify a directory where the output files should be saved. So we are going to modify the script again and then specify an output directory. So let's open our script again. Let's modify it. Well, you can also do a copy. I think we should make a copy first, because in case anything happens to the original script, it's going to be problematic. So I always prefer to make a copy of my original script and then modify it. So I'll do a copy. So I'll say cp pipeline.nf, and I'll say pipeline2.nf, and then I'll modify the copied one. So if I do an ls, I'll find it there. So I'm going to modify this one. All right, I do this because I always want the working script. I always want a backup of it. Let me just put it that way. So I always make a copy of it and then I edit. All right, so I'll edit. So I'll say nano pipeline2.nf, and then I'll come down here. So here I'll define the output directory. So I'll say, let me just scroll down. I'll say params.FastQC reports. I can even say FastQC, anything is fine. I will just use, let me just say QC reports rather. So QC reports. All right, you can use any name, but to make it nice, I'll say QC underscore reports equals, I bring my code access/home. I define my working directory slash, it's supposed to be Nextflow slash FastQC underscore reports. I'll do it this way. And then I will come into the process QC, and then in it, I will specify something else. All right, so I will say publish dir into brackets dollar. I bring a curly brackets, and I'll say params.qc underscore reports, and I'll close it. All right. Now, to be on the safer side, when you indicate the publish down, you bring your brackets. You can bring a double quote first, and bring a dollar, bring your curly brackets, and then you say params.qc underscore reports. You close it, you bring your double quotes. This one works, so I always prefer to use this one. And then I'll bring a comma, and then I'll say mode. I bring a colon, space, I bring a quote, and I'll say copy. And I'll close the brackets. So why am I doing this? I'm in the mode. Now, Nextflow has a directory where it places the output files. So if I specify mode like this, that means that we will still have the output files in the directory that we are defining here, but then a copy is what we will get. Nextflow will still save the output in its working directory, in the default working directory. All right, so let me say Nextflow will save it in the default directory it uses to save output files. That's the work directory. All right, and so after saving it there, it will make a copy and place those files in the directory that we specify here. This directory, we don't need to create it. Nextflow will create it for us and then place all those outputs in there. That's what you need to know. So that's why I'm using the copy. You can also use move, but if you use move, that means that the files will be moved to this directory. But usually I will advise against that because sometimes you will have multiple processes and then some of those processes may use those files. So it's better to leave them there. And then when you are done completely, all right, so you are done executing your pipeline, then you can remove them. So I advise you always use the copy mode instead of move or some other modes. Anyway, you can still check the Nextflow documentation page to read more about the modes, and you can decide which one works best for you. So let's proceed. So now we have specified the directory. So that's all we need to specify here, nothing more. So we are done. Let's execute this command. So we will save changes. We will exit and save changes. And then we are going to run. Now, I want us to remove the working directory again. This one here. I keep on referring to it as working directory. It's the output directory. So let me just go over. So now I want us to remove the work directory and then rerun the Nextflow. All right, so I will do it now. So I'll say rm-fr work. You don't need to remove that. I just thought I removed so that the process starts afresh. All right, so I'll remove it and then I'm going to run Nextflow. So I'll say Nextflow run pipeline 2.nf. So let's execute this command. All right, so Nextflow is running. So let's wait for everything to get done for us. All right, so Nextflow has completed its work. So you'll still see that the outputs have been saved in the work directory. We have them here, but we still have our copy. All right, let's clear the screen and do an ls. You'll find this directory FastQC report. So this has the outputs. So a copy was made into this directory. So let's ls into it. FastQC report, and we are going to find our files there. All right, so we have the HTML and we also have the zip file here. We also have this and this. So these are the reports. All right, now with the FastQC reports, if you're dealing with multiple files, then you can aggregate them using multiqc, and I've covered a tutorial on that. So you can just check the description box, you'll find a link to that video. All right, now with the HTML, you can view it as well, and then just check the data and then see the quality. And I've also made a tutorial on how to use FastQC to generate these reports, and also I show how those reports can be interpreted. So check the description box for those videos. So you can also check the playlist that have been shown right here. If you are a beginner in Nextflow, I also encourage you to check my playlist for Nextflow for bioinformatics. I have lots of tutorials. So again, check the description box, or also check the playlist that's been shown right now.